Guys, hope you are all doing well. In today's video we are going to take a look on the concepts of Angular data binding in Angular, so how it will be going to work inside your Angular applications. And it's actually pretty important concepts in Angular, because this is actually the main fundamental thing which Angular had provided us. And two-way binding is the main concept, a main pillar which Angular had provided us. It's actually a new thing which Angular had founded. So there are while working with data binding in Angular, there are actually three most important things you have to take a look on it, and you should have the main concepts for these three things. So these three things are property binding, event binding, and input and output decorators. Input and output decorators are built-in decorators provided by Angular to like communicate between your parent to child relationships kind of component. So we will take a look on it theoretically while I take a reference from Angular documentation, and also we will take a look on source code, how you will be going to implement these binding in your Angular application, because this is the important thing. So first of all, we are talking about property binding. So property binding is it actually help us to set the values or properties for your HTML elements or directives. So like, let's suppose I have a component A, and inside every Angular component there are actually four files. One is the testing file spec.ts, and one is the design file .sas or .css. It depends on what you have chosen, and there are more two files, which is one is the HTML one, and the one is the component.ts file. So let's suppose I have a variable inside my component.ts file, and I want to show that data which is actually been, let's suppose there is a name variable with a string type, and I want to show that name inside my HTML element p tag or any tag. So property binding is there, which will like help you. It's to help you to show that data of variable inside your template. So if you go below in the section of property binding in the Angular documentation, so you will find the example of that as well. Let's suppose this is a tag, this is an image tag, and I want to, like, image item URL is the variable which is being placed in my component.ts file, and there's some path which I want to show inside my HTML element. So I will how this will be showing to have. So this is a string type, and I should have to enclose these square brackets, so that it will be manipulating this variable as a dynamic variable, and it will not send this string to the image tag, or it will not set this item image URL string kind of, but it will take a value from this component file. So this is how it will be going to work inside the property binding. So the second concept is event binding. Event bind is actually the main thing for the event binding is helping us to, like, it will listen on your events, click events or tap events or kind of these things. So event binding is actually kind of that thing. If you guys can go to the go below in the event binding section in the Angular documentation, so you will find binding to events, how it will be going to work, and Angular had provided an example for that. This is actually event binding syntax. There's a button element. Inside that button I'm actually binding a click event. So this is how actually while in the old JavaScript, so we are going to we actually mentioned here like on click and these kind of methods. So however, inside the Angular you should have to you should have to write in this way if you are going to bind the click event or perform some method manipulations on the click event. So you should have to write in this way. this is actually the click event, and this is on save method which you want to perform on the click of this save button. So this is how actually click is actually target event name, and on save is actually a template statement, and it will run the method from your component. So this is actually event binding, and inside the Angular, event binding is actually been responsible. Event binding is actually this kind of thing in Angular, and however Angular had provided us event emitter kind of thing, which is actually responsible to send data from parent to the child kind of stuff. And the third concept is actually for sharing data between your parent and directive, sharing data between multiple components, with the components having with the parent and child kind of relationship. So input and output decorators are built-in decorators provided by Angular. So it's actually a common kind of pattern. Let's suppose if we are having with a child and parent and child kind of relationship, so input decorator is actually responsible for sending the data from parent to child component. So if you want to send data from parent to child, you shouldn't have to like work with input decorators to pass the data. And how you will be passing the data, we will be taking a look on the source code. And the second concept is the output decorator. The output decorator is actually responsible for sending, if you are kind of parent and child kind of relationship, so and you want to send data from child to the parent, so in this kind of thing actually you should have to work with output decorator kind of thing. So this is how actually these thing will be going to work. Let's actually take a look on the source code, how it will be going to work. I have created an Angular application via Angular schematic commands, ng new binding and etc name, and I have actually run that application here. So inside the application directory, I have created a directory of components, and inside that I am going to create a new component. Let's suppose I am creating a component with the name of parent, right? So it should be updated here. If you can see here, it's actually a component file, and this is actually the component. This is actually a TypeScript file of component, and this is the HTML file of component. So the application is running on my browser. So we should have, like, it's a starter application, so I should have to clean up little bit of code. Okay, so it's written here. So let me save this, and it will be showing us. Okay. Okay, so this is the this is my parent component which I have been edited here. So I should have to edit in my routing file as well. So let's suppose I have edited it here, and inside that I have to initiate the path, like from like at where it will be reflecting, like parent is the path, like if I will be writing the parent in my address bar, so it will be loading this parent component which I am adding it here inside my routing file. So here it will goes. I have typed in the /parent, so it will be loading my parent component here. But I am actually trying a thing that if I am not going to pass any kind of path, so it will also then load the parent component. So now if I delete this one, so it will also load the parent here, so you guys can take a look on it. So I am now closing it, closing both of the files here. Now let's suppose take example that uh, I have a name kind of name variable with a string type, and there is actually written name is actually written here muhammadawais, right? And now I want to show that inside my HTML file. So this is actually the property binding if I am passing that value. So a string manipulation. So I'm actually passing it here, so it will be like loading my name here. So this is kind of actually the concept for property binding to attach these kind of values, and if you want to send them that kind of thing. So this is actually the property binding concept. And property binding, but we can also like send the data for this into our child component as well. So if we can take a look on it inside the source code, like let's suppose inside my parent component I'm actually going to create a new component which is the child component, right? I have created a component inside that, which is inside the inside my parent component. Now I have to add the route as I edit for the parent component. So I will go in my routing file here. So it will be now if I write /child in the address bar, so it will load the child component. But however, I am not going to do this because child I am actually using my child component inside this parent component. So how I will be consuming that, if you open your component which you can state the component is child component. So if you open the component child component's ts file, though, so there is actually inside component decorator we have a selector. So by the selector you can actually call that child component inside your parent component. So I'm like calling the child component inside parent by selector. So if you can now see in the browser, so child component is actually being loaded inside your parent component because this is your parent component, right? Now let's suppose let me open the child component files as well. Now let's suppose I am this is my child component and I am actually passing the I want to actually pass the age into that child component, and I am passing the age 25 kind of thing from here. And I want to like receive, like this is my child component, I want to send data to my child component from parent because I'm actually standing at my parent component here. And so this is actually kind of this is how property binding is worked. So one is kind of this string interpolation, like you can like call your variables inside your templating as well. And however, you can also inside property binding you can send the values from your you can set the values inside your HTML elements, or you can like send the values to your child component. So that this is how I am actually sending my data to my child component, which is actually app child, and I'm sending it from here. And inside the child component I should have to like I should have to receive that data which I am sending from the parent component. So first of all I should have to use that input decorator here, and I should have to call that input decorator. I should have to import that input decorator from Angular core. If I am not, so it will be showing an error. So let's state it again, input. So this is how actually it's imported from above. And inside this round braces I should have to state the name from where I'm sending the properties from parent component. So this is actually the age kind of property name. I should have to mention it here. And the second thing is like for by which name you are going to use that data in your child component. So I'm saying with the age kind of thing I'm using it, and the properties, the data type is actually kind of let's suppose I'm stating this is any kind of, right? So this is actually the age. And if I'm going to log this data which is coming from my parent component, so I can see this easily in my log. So if I'm going to see here, this is actually from child component, this 25, if you can see in the dev tools at the right side. So 25 is actually coming from which is actually consoling at child component at line number 15. So this is how actually if you want to communicate, if you want to make communication possible from by sending data from parent to your child component, so this is how you are going to like first of all you have to call this child component inside your parent component, and like this is the way you should have to send the data to your child component. And child component is actually been child component is receiving that data by means of input decorator here. So this is kind of one-way data flow if you want to send data from parent to child kind of thing. So now this age is actually been passing is a hard-coded number from here directly, but I want to actually pass that age from dynamically. Let's suppose this is actually this is dynamically coming from API, so I want to use that variable to pass that dynamic like data to my component. So this is the way I can do that. And if I can refresh it, no changes here. It's also receiving 25 is here. So my component.ts parent component has age variable, which is kind of number type, and it's actually having some values. So I am passing that age variable into the my child component, and child component is receiving so far. And inside my child component now I want to print that name and bind that name inside the with any kind of HTML tag. So I will do that kind of double braces to bind that data. So this is coming as I'm using this. This is actually kind of age name, which is actually written in single quotation. So this is the name, property name, which is coming from our parent component. So this is, and the second age which is written here, it's actually been I'm identifying my component that I will going to use this variable name when I want to get the data which is coming from my parent. So this is the age I am mentioning here is the bind. It's actually binded with my p tag. So I will be receiving 25 here, if you can see. So this is how, like, inside our code till now we have actually covered the property binding, how like we can bind the property variables with our templates, HTML tags and kind of things. And also we have taken a look on the input decorator, where we are actually sending the data from our parent to the child component. Now the twist actually comes up when I want to send data from my child to parent component. So here it's actually the need of output decorator here. Like, let's suppose this is my parent component, and this is actually this is my child component from where I was actually sending the data. Now I want let's suppose I want to receive some data. So let's suppose I'm written it here, get data method. So, and I'm receiving here on data from child. So this is actually the kind of concept. This is how output decorators will going to work. Now this is my child component, and I want to receive the data which is coming from my child component. So this is the way how I will be receiving it in my parent component. First of all, I have to declare that method with that method. So the get data is actually the name of my output decorator, which will be which I will be going to write inside my child component. So this is the output decorator kind of thing, which will be emitting this event. So I will be emitting this event with that. So I should have to use that output decorator here. So let me take a look on it. So this is kind of output decorator we will be going to show. So I have to import the event emitter as well and the output decorator as well. So and this is the get data, which I have mentioned it earlier in my parent component. So this get data will be my output decorator. So get data. So I will be emitting when I will be going to emit that get data method. So I will be sending the data using event emitter, and my parent component will be receiving that data with this kind of method. So I should have to implement this method here as well, which will be actually reflecting which will be actually getting the updated values. So when for my secure purposes, I want to actually take a look like what's actually the main data which is coming in my output decorator. So I will be going to write it here, coming from child, right? So this get data will be my output decorator inside my child component. Here I had declared that it, and I have changed the type to any. So this get data is my output decorator, is written it here in kind of event kind of thing. And this is on data from child method, which will be going to which I have implemented in my parent component ts file, which will be receiving the data which is coming from my child component, right? So now actually I want to emit I want to actually perform one kind of event or kind of thing, so that I can send the data from my child to parent. So let's suppose I am making a method send data here for my rough purposes to show you guys how it will be going to work. And let's inside that send data I will be going to, like, let's suppose this dot get data dot, I will have to emit that method so that it will be sending my data to parent component. So it says emitted data from child. So this string will be actually my parent component will be going to receive this string, this data inside there, and I will be creating a button here in my child component, so that I will be creating an button kind of thing, and I'm actually adding a click event here, and I will be performing this send data button and send data to parent. This is actually this is the button from where on the click of this button I am sending this data to my parent component from child component. So let's save all the changes here. And this 25 is what? This 25 is actually input decorator, which is going from parent to child, which we take a look on earlier. And I'm clearing my log, and I'm clicking on it. So send data to parent. And this, you can see on the right side, the data is actually been receiving at the parent component. However, this send data to parent is is my child component. So you can see on this child component. So this button is placed inside my child component. So when I click on this button, so on the right side you can see in the log emitted data from child. So this data is actually receiving at parent.component.ts line number 20, which we have added in this method on data from child. So this is how this input and output decorators are going to work, and this is how the property bindings are going to work. This is the main concept which Angular had provided us to work with the long data manipulations in a kind of thing, that we have multiple components, and inside every component there are child component, and we want to send the data from components to components in kind of in the component where we have a parent and child kind of relationship. So in these kind of things, property bindings and input and output decorators are very useful to perform these kind of operations. And however, if the component, there are actually multiple use cases, and in many use cases we don't have parent and child kind of relationship. We have the components that are actually not attached in a parent and child kind of relationship, so they are actually not attached with each other. Many of the components are from different modules. So in this scenario, actually we will be taking a help from services, and we will be going to use services to perform the communication possible inside our components, the unrelated components. So this is how kind of parent and child kind of relationship will be going to work on. So in this series, actually we will be going to I will be releasing soon the next video to like how we will be performing data communication between components, possibly in the like we can making possible the component communication for unrelated kind of relationships. So I will be coming soon next in the series. Thanks. This is it.